The political landscape in the United States is once again brimming with tension as the Democratic Party wrestles with the ramifications of recent electoral losses and the looming presence of former President Donald Trump, who is leveraging a palpable resurgence in influence. In the wake of a significant red wave that swept through the November elections, Democratic leaders appear to be doubling down on progressive ideals, a strategy some analysts argue is misaligned with the sentiments of the broader electorate. Nicole, a columnist for USA Today, expresses her frustration with the Democrats' reaction to their electoral setbacks. She argues that instead of reflecting on the reasons for their defeat, Democratic leaders have resorted to what she describes as petty and unproductive behaviors. During Trump's recent address to Congress, for example, Democrats openly displayed their disdain, refusing to applaud even for bipartisan achievements. This behavior, Russell contends, alienates them further from the average American, who may have more pressing concerns regarding economic stability and personal safety. Polling data reflects a stark reality. A CBS News survey indicated that 76% of viewers approved of Trump's recent address, highlighting a disconnect between the Democratic Party's actions and the views of many voters. Russell points to specific policy areas such as the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act, where the Democrats voted against a measure that 66% of Americans support. This, she argues, exemplifies a broader failure to recognize the electorate's preferences, particularly in battleground states that swung to Trump. In a contrasting narrative, Representative Chris Deluzio of Pennsylvania, who survived the electoral onslaught, suggests a path forward for the Democratic Party. He emphasizes the need for the party to focus on economic issues that resonate with working-class voters. "It's got to be front and center to what we're doing," Deluzio insists, noting that many voters in his district feel disillusioned with the government's failure to deliver on the American dream. He advocates for an economic populism that prioritizes job creation, healthcare, and the dignity of work, arguing that the party must unite around these critical issues to regain voter trust. Meanwhile, a recent report from the Associated Press sheds light on how Democrats are recalibrating their messaging in the face of rising inflation, particularly the skyrocketing prices of everyday goods like eggs. With egg prices reaching an average of $4.95 per dozen, some as high as $10.99 in certain markets, Democratic leaders are recognizing that these economic pressures are paramount for many Americans. Representative Kristen McDonald-Rivet highlights that while concerns about democracy are valid, they often take a back seat to the immediate worries of families trying to put food on the table. However, this shift in focus is not without contention. Some activists within the party are critical of what they see as a retreat to outdated strategies, arguing that a singular focus on economic issues fails to address the broader existential threats posed by Trump's policies. Ezra Levin, co-founder of Indivisible, labels the party's pivot to kitchen table issues as a communication strategy built for a 1990s policy fight, asserting that a more dynamic approach is needed to engage voters in today's political climate. As the Democratic Party grapples with internal divisions and external pressures, the question remains whether they can effectively navigate the complexities of contemporary American politics. With Trump's influence still looming large and a shifting electorate, the stakes are high. The coming months will be crucial in determining if Democrats can reclaim their footing and effectively address the concerns of the voters they aim to represent. The party's ability to adapt and embrace a unified message centered around economic dignity may well dictate their success in the next electoral cycle. In a time of significant political upheaval and transformation, two recent events highlight the shifting dynamics within American political parties. Historian Heather Cox Richardson, known for her insightful commentary on U.S. politics through her newsletter Letters from an American, engaged in a thought-provoking discussion at UC Berkeley about the evolution of the Republican Party. Simultaneously in Utah, Republican Senator Dan Thatcher announced his departure from the GOP in favor of the centrist Utah Forward Party. Together, these events reflect broader trends in American politics and underscore the challenges and opportunities facing both major parties. During her conversation at UC Berkeley, Richardson emphasized the historical roots and evolution of the Republican Party, tracing its origins back to President Abraham Lincoln. She noted that Lincoln envisioned a government serving the common person, advocating for equal access to education and land. However, the aftermath of the Civil War saw a backlash against these ideals, leading to the rise of robber barons and a concentration of wealth that ultimately necessitated a re-evaluation of the party's direction. The Republican Party had to repeatedly rethink the way it did business and the way it worked, she explained. Richardson also pointed to the transformative impact of Donald Trump's presidency, which she argued stripped the party of its traditional veneer and embraced more overtly divisive rhetoric. By appealing to racism and sexism, Trump mobilized a base that has since shifted the party's focus toward anti-authority sentiment and violence. This change, she suggests, poses a significant challenge to the party's future and to American democracy overall. Yet amid this tumult, Richardson expressed a measure of hope, drawing parallels to the political landscape of the 1850s when a small elite seemed to dominate the nation. She asserted that collective action could once again reshape American politics for the better. "I believe that all of us coming together in the 21st century can do it again," she said, highlighting the potential for grassroots movements to reclaim democratic ideals. In Utah, Senator Dan Thatcher's departure from the Republican Party provides a tangible example of the frustration felt by some within the GOP. Thatcher announced his switch to the Utah Forward Party, citing a growing disconnection between the party's current trajectory and the principles he believes in. "I can't be a part of this anymore," he declared, criticizing recent legislative actions that he perceives as straying from true conservative values focused on personal liberties. Thatcher's decision, marked by a public demonstration of changing his party affiliation, underscores a broader trend of dissatisfaction among moderates and traditional conservatives with the current Republican establishment. He argued that the Forward Party better represents a commitment to individual liberty and civic responsibility, contrasting sharply with what he views as the GOP's increasingly extreme positions. Both Richardson's insights and Thatcher's bold move illustrate a critical moment in American politics. As traditional party lines blur and new movements emerge, the landscape is ripe for change. The evolution of the Republican Party, as discussed by Richardson, and the emergence of centrist alternatives like the Utah Forward Party signal a potential recalibration of political affiliations in response to contemporary issues. Looking ahead, the future of American politics may hinge on the ability of political leaders and parties to adapt to the evolving needs and sentiments of the electorate. With grassroots movements gaining traction and moderates seeking new platforms, the coming years will likely reveal whether these shifts can lead to a more inclusive and representative political environment. As Richardson poignantly noted, there remains an enduring hope that collective action can restore the principles of democracy and governance for the common good. In a critical moment for American social welfare, U.S. senators are raising alarms over plans by the Trump administration to significantly reduce the workforce of the Social Security Administration (SSA). This move, which could see the closure of numerous field offices and the termination of experienced staff, threatens to undermine access to essential benefits for millions of Americans, particularly those who rely on in-person services during significant life events. Led by Senator Michael Bennet, Democrat, Colorado, a coalition of 44 Senate Democrats, including prominent figures like Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senators Ron Wyden and Patty Murray, has formally urged Acting Commissioner Leland Dudek to halt these drastic changes. In a letter addressed to Dudek, the senators articulated their concerns about the potential ramifications of workforce reductions, emphasizing that Social Security provides a foundation of income on which workers can build for their retirement, as well as valuable insurance protection against unexpected hardship. Each day, the SSA serves as a lifeline for over 120,000 individuals visiting its field offices and 233,000 calling for assistance. The senators argue that reducing staff and shuttering offices would severely limit these vulnerable populations' access to their earned benefits. By slashing staff and eliminating field offices, fewer Americans will be able to seek assistance during pivotal life events and risk causing further hardship to those in dire circumstances, they warned. The senators have demanded transparency regarding the administration's plans, requesting data on the number of employees terminated or leaving the agency and how such reductions would improve customer service. The letter highlights the essential role of SSA employees in assisting Americans with Medicare enrollments, disability claims, and other critical services. Without adequate staffing, the agency risks becoming overwhelmed, leading to longer wait times and diminished service quality, a sentiment echoed in past studies indicating that field office closures correlate with a significant drop in benefit applications. Critics of the administration's strategy suggest that such sweeping cuts are at odds with President Trump's earlier commitments to protect Social Security. The senator's letter points to empirical studies showing that past reductions in SSA staffing and operational hours have led to increased congestion and longer wait times, undermining the agency's ability to serve the public effectively. The urgency of this matter is further underscored by the political context surrounding the Trump administration's broader agenda, which some perceive as an effort to streamline federal operations at the expense of essential services. The coalition of senators is also calling for an immediate cessation of activities that threaten Americans' access to their Social Security benefits, reflecting a growing bipartisan concern over the implications of such workforce reductions. As the debate unfolds, the implications of these proposed cuts on the delivery of social services remain a critical issue. With millions of Americans relying on the SSA for support through various life changes, the outcome of this situation could significantly affect the well-being of those who depend on these vital services. The senators' collective action indicates a robust commitment to safeguarding Social Security, and their future engagements with the SSA may be pivotal in shaping the agency's operational landscape. As discussions continue, the response from the Trump administration and the actions that follow will be closely monitored, as they will set the tone for the future of social welfare programs in America. With the potential for significant legal and legislative battles ahead, the coming weeks are likely to be crucial in determining how the SSA adapts to these challenges and maintains its commitment to serving the American public effectively. As the dust settles from the recent presidential election, attention has shifted toward the U.S. House of Representatives, where critical races are still too close to call. With all 435 seats contested, the stakes are high and both major political parties are vying for control. As of Monday evening, the Republican Party has claimed 213 seats while the Democrats stand at 204, with 218 needed for a majority. This uncertainty follows the surprising re-election of former President Donald Trump, who defeated Vice President Kamala Harris, marking a significant shift in the political landscape as Republicans also regained control of the Senate. The 2024 election highlights a deeply divided electorate, and the live counts can be followed on platforms such as USA Today's election results page. Key battleground states remain undecided, including Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, Iowa, Maine, Ohio, Oregon, and Washington. These results will not only influence the direction of domestic policies but will also shape the political narrative as Trump prepares for his second term in office, set to begin on January 20, 2025. In the wake of these elections, the House of Representatives witnessed a notable incident involving Democratic Representative Al Green from Texas, who was recently censured for his outburst during Trump's congressional address. The vote to censure Green, which passed 224 to 198, saw support from 10 Democrats, including Pennsylvania Representative Chrissy Houlihan. This action has sparked significant debate within the party, particularly regarding the standards of conduct expected from representatives. Representative Houlihan articulated the complexity of her decision, emphasizing the need for decorum in Congress. "It was a really hard vote for me," she stated, underscoring her belief in the necessity of adhering to established rules. She expressed concerns about perceived double standards in enforcing these rules, drawing comparisons to the behavior of other lawmakers who have faced no repercussions for similar actions. "We need to behave like grown-ups and stop the madness," she remarked, highlighting the ongoing tensions within both parties regarding accountability and decorum. The censure of Green reflects a broader narrative of discontent among lawmakers, with many feeling a sense of hypocrisy in the enforcement of standards. Following the vote, Green was surrounded by fellow Democrats in a show of solidarity as they sang "We Shall Overcome," a poignant reminder of the historical struggles faced by minority representatives. This incident serves as a microcosm of the challenges facing Congress as it navigates a politically charged environment. As the House continues to finalize its makeup and address internal conflicts, all eyes will be on how these developments affect legislative priorities moving forward. With a Republican majority potentially leading the charge and a divided Democratic Party grappling with its identity, the coming months will be crucial in determining the trajectory of U.S. policy and governance. The implications of these elections and subsequent actions in Congress will undoubtedly resonate through the political landscape, shaping the discourse as the nation looks ahead to a new chapter in its governance. In a series of significant legal battles that could redefine executive authority and illuminate the complexities of state-federal relations, the U.S. Supreme Court has recently engaged in high-stakes discussions regarding nuclear waste management and foreign aid funding. These cases not only reflect the intricate dynamics of American governance but also signal potential shifts in how power is wielded across various branches of government. On one front, the Supreme Court deliberated over Texas' challenge against a proposed nuclear waste storage site near its border with New Mexico. The state, represented by Solicitor General Aaron Nielsen, contended that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission (NRC) exceeded its authority in permitting the site, which could house up to 5,000 metric tons of spent nuclear fuel for 4 decades. Nielsen warned that such a decision would not only jeopardize Texas' most productive oil fields but also effectively place a permanent burden of nuclear waste on the state. "If anyone thinks this is temporary, I have a bridge to sell you," he remarked, emphasizing the long-term implications of the storage decision. The federal government countered that the NRC's actions were consistent with a regulatory framework that has existed for decades, allowing both on-site and off-site storage of nuclear waste. Deputy Solicitor General Malcolm Stewart argued that this approach enables a balanced response to the nation's nuclear waste challenges while ensuring safety. The ongoing dilemma, which stems from the federal government's failure to establish a permanent repository as mandated by a 1982 law, highlights a significant gap in national policy on nuclear waste disposal. As the Supreme Court weighs its decision anticipated by late June, the implications of this case extend beyond Texas, potentially reshaping how nuclear waste is managed across the country. With over 90,000 metric tons of high-level waste awaiting disposal, the urgency for a viable solution is palpable. In a parallel development, President Donald Trump's administration is embroiled in a contentious legal battle concerning the freezing of nearly $2 billion in foreign aid contracts managed by the U.S. Agency for International Development (USAID). Following an executive order issued on January 20, 2025, which paused all foreign aid funding, U.S. District Judge Amir Ali ruled that the administration must continue to honor existing contracts. The Supreme Court's recent 5-4 decision allows this ruling to stand temporarily, directing the government to outline a new timeline for the release of the funds. This case raises critical questions about the limits of presidential power, particularly in the context of the separation of powers enshrined in the U.S. Constitution. The D.C. District Court found that the abrupt halt to foreign aid could cause irreparable harm to organizations reliant on these funds for humanitarian efforts. The ruling underscores the necessity for the executive branch to adhere to established protocols when making unilateral decisions that affect appropriated funds. Justice Sonia Sotomayor highlighted the precarious position of the courts, suggesting that it is not the judiciary's role to incentivize congressional action by blocking state projects such as the Texas Nuclear Waste Facility. This sentiment reflects a broader judicial reluctance to intervene in executive decisions unless absolutely necessary, hinting at a cautious approach toward the balance of power. As both cases unfold, the outcomes could have far-reaching implications for the future of executive authority, state responsibilities, and the management of critical national issues. The Supreme Court's deliberations not only represent legal milestones but also serve as a barometer for the evolving dynamics of governance in America. As these legal battles progress, all eyes will be on the High Court awaiting decisions that could reshape fundamental tenets of political power and responsibility in the United States.